Hi there, and welcome to the stream in which we will discuss the game against Colombia. Uruguay face Colombia in Vital World Cup qualifier. Um, and for me, it's a must-win game. We all know Colombia is an opponent who's tough, and in the Copa America, we were knocked out by Colombia. But when you play at home, you have to take points against your direct rivals. Otherwise, you will have a hard time qualifying for the World Cup. So we will discuss it. The team news is pretty much clear. Only needs confirmation, but many people already saw the team news. So yeah, I will just get into the game. My thoughts. I would like to know your thoughts about the game, your predictions. Who do you think will be decisive for Uruguay, or maybe who do you think will be a threat for Colombia? There are a few players in Colombia's squad, especially Luis Diaz. Who's the winger from Porto, who I believe is a really good player and who is going to be hard to deal with. Um, and I think midfield, I think Barrios is a good player. Wilmar Barrios, I think he's starting. So these are players which will be tough to handle. But I think Uruguay, the team we have, even though I don't agree with some decisions in the team we have, we are good enough to beat them. So it will be exciting. So the first comment I see here is from Brian Shea. Good to see you here again, as well as last night. Love to see the variety of the stadium venues for Uruguay this qualifying season, especially the new renovations. Yeah, I think it's nice to see as well playing at Peñarol Stadium last time, now in a national stadium. Obviously, it's not because of the Uruguayan Association just like to change it up. It's because obviously the stadiums or the stadium, the Estadio Centenario, is being remodeled or renovated for the finals of the Libertadores and the Sudamericana. But for sure, it's a good experience because although Centenario for me is brilliant for the history it has, you can see it's an old stadium. It's just the way it is, and it has some romance because it has so many history, so many stories of the stadium. But when you are watching the game at the Centenario, okay, when it's full, it's brilliant. But certainly when you have these games now, when there's no full capacity, you can see the oldness of the stadium. And this Campeón de Siglo uh, was I think was constructed in 2016. It was opened in 2016, so it's a really modern stadium. And the Gran Park Central also had renovations, and it's also a nice stadium in my eyes. So yeah, and certainly now the capacity of these stadiums is way less than a Centenario. So now when you're not allowed full capacity, I think it's more atmosphere in these stadiums because they are smaller. So although there are less people than usually still you get a better atmosphere. Random name says, "What do you think is the best midfield combination for Uruguay?" I believe it is Lucas Torreira as the number six, the regista role, and then Bentancur and Valverde at either side. I think Bentancur, although he's been brilliant for Uruguay in the last few games, maybe is the one who you can change in this formation. I think Nicolas de la Cruz has been playing really well for River Plate in the midfield position as like not the number eight, more the attacking midfielder of the midfield three, and he's been doing really well. So I think he can do this as well. But Bentancur, obviously, he's a good player, and hopefully he can have a consistent season for Juventus because still Bentancur, his quality, well, it's clear to see. He just has to cut out some errors in his game and some lapses of concentration because for me this is the big thing with Bentancur. He sometimes switches off and makes silly mistakes which cost his team. You saw it last season for the Juventus in the quarterfinal, I think it was, or the last 16 game against Porto in the Champions League. It was, I think, 2 minutes in, and he just played the ball way too short to the goalkeeper, and Taremi, the striker of Porto, scored. And of course, you can make mistakes, but at that level, in this stage, these mistakes are eventually what is costing your team titles or progression in tournaments. And he has too many of these kind of mistakes, in my opinion. And he's 24, so it's not like he's just come into this world of football. He's not a 20-year-old kid, and he should develop more for me. Because when you look at Federico Valverde, he is developing better in the last 2 years than Bentancur is. And I mean, this is the way it is. Not every player develops from the age of 20 to 25. Like maybe, um, what's an example? Like maybe, well, Mbappe is an example who was 18 and keep developing now, and he's 22, 21. It's just going up, up, up. And obviously, you have moments like against in the Euros when he misses a penalty, but he gets better, better, and better. And some players, they get to a level at 21, they stagnate, they don't get to another level for 2 or 3 years. Maybe they don't have it in them, but sometimes when they're getting older, having more experience, they go like this and boom, it goes up again. So maybe Bentancur is a player who's like this, but we will have to see. So for all the people who are in here, let me know your thoughts about the game. Your predictions, and who do you think will be the star man for Uruguay, or maybe who will be the ones that maybe will let us down? I don't like to think about this, but just let me know your opinions, and if you have any questions, obviously I'm here to answer them. Um, so yeah, I will have a look if okay. So that's funny. Just now getting a notification that Carlos Sanchez has scored for Santos. Obviously, former Uruguay international, did really well for us in the few years he played, with a lot of assists, really good set piece delivery. Now playing for Santos and scoring a goal. Marmotank says Nandes will play really well, but I'm sure he will get a yellow card and miss the next match. Yes, it's good that you bring this up because I was planning to say this as well. The list, or the players who are one yellow card away from suspension, and as Marmotank says, we play next match against Argentina away. So if the following players, it's Diego Godin, Jose Jimenez, Sebastian Coates, Matias Vecino, Federico Valverde, Knight Hernandez. If one of these players, or either or anyone, picks up a yellow card, they will miss the game against Argentina. Um, so a lot of players in there are regulars and important players, so it will be a tough loss. And Marmotank, like you say, Nandes has been probably, in my opinion, the best performing Uruguayan player in the national team in the last year. In the Copa and also the games before and the games after. So to miss him would be a big miss for sure. And when you think about who's going to play there, Giovanni Gonzalez is a good option. I don't want to see Caceres, to be honest. I would have liked to see Damian Suarez be called up. The Getafe player, but some way Tabares does not like him. But so yeah, missing Nandes potentially would be a miss. Um, Brian Shea asks, which young Uruguay player do you expect to have a top performance against Colombia? Um, so so young, I think under 23, something like this. So we have Fina, we have Valverde, Brian, and yeah, these three who are like young, but I think Valverde. I hope Valverde, and I think in the form he is in. But the thing is with Valverde, he's played so much already this season, so I don't hope he gets an injury or flattens out, loses his energy, because this is such a big part of his game. But I think Verde will be important because the midfield, they got a strong midfield in my opinion, but I think our midfield is stronger. So I hope and I think Valverde will be good tonight, and he will be important, and I hope he will have a top performance. Brian and Matias Vinha, yeah, we will see. Vinha has had good games, but also some poor games for Uruguay in the last few games. And Brian, obviously, last international break he was really good, but since then he is not really played much for the LAFC. Um, Also because he returned late, and I'm not really sure what's going on right there. But he, I think, played 2 or 3 games out of possible 5 or 6. So let's see. I would have liked to see Darwin get a chance. Obviously, it's difficult to fit him in, but I think he will get a chance from the bench, and I'm really looking forward because Darwin is probably the player I'm most excited about following this season so far for Benfica in the Champions League. Yeah, it's just great to see these young Uruguayan players doing so well. Marmoteng says, I think Tabres likes Giovanni Gonzalez enough to play him. Yes, I do as well, because Giovanni Gonzalez from Peñarol, we have to remember, now he's in a good level. But for me, like 2 years ago, I think I said it on Twitter that he is the worst Uruguay international I've seen in 10 years. So that's a bit harsh, maybe, but I felt about him like this. But when he came back, and I think he played in the Copa, he played some games, but I also played in the World Cup qualifiers. I think he played a few minutes. I don't know, um, but he made a really good impression. So I think Tabares trusts him as well. So let's see. Um, Marmot says, I really hope Brian isn't on the lineup and Godin as well. But I can assure you, mate, that they will be probably, or it's the reports that saying this. Maybe it's not true, but I really think they are. They are, and I mean, we all have this discussion about Godin, the great captain he has been and the great leader he has been. He's not the player he was. I mean, it's normal. He's 35 years of age. Physically, he's deteriorating. Um, so, and when you have players like Sebastian Coares and Ronald Arajo, who's doing so well in big clubs in Europe, you have to you have to have the recambio, as they say. You have to change it up, get new players going, get the young players going. Although Coates is not the youngest, but Coates is turned 31 today. He's at the best level in his career, so you have to take advantage of it. But it seems like we are not doing this. Marmoteng says Gaston Silva must be up there. Yeah, you mean as the worst players for Uruguay in the last few years? Yeah, I mean, I don't like to talk like this because obviously to play for Uruguay you have to be a good player. But in the context of yeah, this discussion, Gaston was certainly up there. Yeah, to be honest. I Aidan Paul says Darwin probably worthy of a start. He needs more minutes to prove himself at international level. Yeah, I think when you look completely about on the club level, and not taking in account what they have done for the national team in the last few years, Darwin is among or is probably the best player this season with Federico, with Josema Jimenez. But these kind of players, these 4 or 5 players with Josema Arajo, Federico Valverde, Darwin Nunez, and yeah, these players are probably the best performing Uruguayan players this season so far. So when you look at it in on this perspective, he should start. But obviously, Tabares, and this is something that plays for him, but also plays against him sometimes. Tabares has a lot of loyalty to his players, the players who have served him well. So he will always stick to the players who have been there a long time. Um, and the second point you made, he needs more minutes to prove himself at an international level. Yeah, for sure. But we have to say the minutes he has got so far, um, he has really done well. His debut against Peru, he scored, I think, in 5 minutes. 5 minutes into his debut, he scored a goal. And the reverse fixture, the last fixture against Colombia in the qualifiers, he scored a really good goal from outside of the area. So Darwin um, will be. I mean, he will get more minutes as his career goes on because we can all see he's going to be a really good player, and he will prove himself for sure. I believe this. So yeah. So let me know if what is. Let me know about the lineup. Who do you? I have to say it right. Who do you feel that it's it's a pity that he's not in the lineup? He should have been in the lineup, but he's not there. Um, and also let me know your score predictions in the chat. Yeah, just let me know. I'm myself. I obviously am hoping for a win, but I believe it will be a draw. And maybe I'm being negative, but I think this is the way it's gonna go. But obviously, I would love us to win, and it would be a big win because at home against a direct rival, and obviously we are going to play Argentina and Brazil away next. To have 3 points today, it will do really well because we're gonna drop. We're gonna drop. Teams are going to get closer because we're gonna lose points away at Argentina and Brazil. So to get the win today will be a good boost. for us in the table. So let me have a look at the lineups are not confirmed yet. But okay, we will see. We will get them. There's no worry. Um, Let me have a look. To be fair, the Colombia is that Colombia is completely different to this Colombia, Marmot Tank. So you refer to the game I talked about where Uruguay beat Colombia 3-0 in Barranquilla, which was a historic result without fans. But I agree, Colombia. I mean, Colombia beat us in the last game in the Copa America. It was a game that I think both teams played not to lose, and eventually Colombia won on penalties, but they beat us. So I agree, Colombia is different now, or it's certainly in a better way, in a better form maybe. So yeah, um, that's true. Marmotan continues that Colombia couldn't beat San Marino if their lives depended on it. I don't want to be revealed. I just know I'm going to be disappointed. Okay. Okay. And he said they just announced the lineup. So let's see. Let's see. Okay. So Muslera on goal as we expected, obviously. Godin and Jimenez in defense. Nandes and Viña as fullbacks. Bentancur, Vagino and Faverde in midfield. And Darsketa, Brian Rodriguez and Luis Suarez as the forwards. So we all expected this. Okay. That's what we expected. The clear things I said about this before. Um, if you follow on Twitter, probably you are because I think you are coming from Twitter to this YouTube video. I said about this lineup that Godin, um, for me, should not be playing Coates and Arajo. Vecino, I think in the role that he is going to play, which is the the number six, the regista role, so the holding midfielder role, we have better players in this position, and except especially Lucas Torreira, this is the role he is always the best, for in Uruguayan players. So I prefer Vecino or Torreira or Vecino. The attack, I'm okay with it. I understand it because Brian Rodriguez and Darasqueta did really well the last few games for Uruguay. So I think they deserve probably to keep their place in the lineup. And Suarez, he has been in form. He scored 4 goals in the last 4 games, and especially against Barcelona, he played a good game. And this is a thing that Suarez keeps scoring because he has this natural talent in the area, but his overall play, his link up play, things like this. It's not at the level that it used to be. So that's the way it is. He's 34 years of age. We can't expect this maybe. But last game against Barcelona, I think he played his best game in terms of overall play. Linking up, passing in behind, things like this. He played his best game of the season for sure, and probably in a year time. So this Suarez, I'm hoping to see him again today. Um, about Enes Cavani, uh, obviously it's a shame not to see him play because I think we all love him, and the way he's been treated for Manchester United sometimes it's a bit unfair in my opinion because he did so well for them last season, big goals he scored, and was also simply the one who set a good example in terms of he's a star. He won a lot of prizes, a lot of trophies, scored a lot of goals, but he came there with a work ethic and just the values of someone who's not a star at all. He's just he said himself a working footballer. He's not a footballing star. He's a footballing worker. These are his own words. And to see this in a team like this, when you have players like Rashford, for example, is a young guy, a lot of talent, but he plays like he is, well, I don't know, Maradona. And then you have someone who's 33 years of age, won everything, scored everywhere, and he comes in there like someone who it's just admirable, how he plays, how he works for the team, and he always gives the team more than he gives himself, basically, because you can see throughout his career, he came at Paris Saint-Germain. Zlatan was the main man, played from the wing a lot of times, but he never, rarely said a bad word. He just went on. Obviously, he didn't like it because how can you like it? You come from Napoli, being a star, and then you go to Paris Saint-Germain, and people see you as like well, someone, but not the one not the player he is, you know. And then he finally got his spotlight when Ibra left, and he scored 50 goals in one season. And Neymar came, and Neymar was the one, the king, you know. And now again, he's done really well for Manchester United in the first season, and then Cristiano came, um, and immediately you can see that he is being given minimal playing time, even when he came back fit. 10 minutes substitute appearance uh, against Villarreal. Then he started against Everton, played only for 50 minutes, was taken off. Things like this, I don't like it. So when he comes back to Uruguay, you think, oh, brilliant! Now we're gonna see Cavani again. You know, Cavani, as we know, and then he gets benched. And to be honest, I do understand it because he is rarely played. Tavares has seen that it's working to play with one striker and two wingers or two attacking midfielders. So hey, we understand it, or I understand it, and I'm sure he will play from the start against Argentina. I'm really sure. Um, so I'm just getting a notification that your connection is unstable. Hopefully, this is not the way you experience it. Otherwise, I'm sorry, it's gone now, so that's okay. Gu Pisanelli says expected midfield to back line and odd front three. So yeah, the midfield certainly is expected, like the back line. The front three, I understand what you mean. You know, it's a winger, a striker, and the number 10 basically. But also Darasqueta plays a lot from the wing. Has done it for Cruzeiro and for Flamengo. He also does it a lot. So it will be okay, I believe. And if it is not working, we have plenty of good options from the bench. That's for sure. Marmot thinks, yeah, but they played really well against the Alva Bolivia, with the Arasqueta playing as a number 10. Oh, you talk about Cavani and Suarez? No, I think you are talking about it. Yeah, they did, but like you said, Bolivia is not like you can't judge how a team is playing if you are playing against Bolivia, and I mean, this is maybe sounding a little bit disrespectful to Bolivia, but this is just the way it is, in my opinion. Guy Pisanelli says also he extended the contract with the promise of more playing time if hearsay is to believed. So you're talking about Cavani. Yeah. So the thing about this is that Cavani extended his contract, obviously, but when he extended this contract for United, the situation was not like it is now. Um, Cristiano playing for Juventus, there was not a real big indication that he was going to leave. So in the last few weeks of the transfer market, he is making it known that he wants to leave. So City's coming in with money. So United is like there. We cannot let this. We cannot let this happen. Going to the city to our rivals, you know, our local rivals. So obviously they're gonna pay. It's their legend for the ownership, the Glazer family. Ronaldo is the best signing ever, you know, because um, they pay I think 20 million for his signing, but they're making loads of money from him because it's a superstar. So financially, you know, from a business side, signing Ronaldo is brilliantly, as well as he is a great player still, scoring lots of goals. So I think when Cavani signed the contract, uh, he was not. There was no prospect of Ronaldo joining, so it was the idea for him to play the number one striker, and Greenwood, Mason Greenwood or Machal, probably a second choice strikers. So when Ronaldo came in, the situation changed. So that's I think it's a shame. Aidan Paul says set pieces will be very important. Would have loved to have Arajo in there. He wins everything in the air. Yes, that's true. And Godin used to do as well, but Arajo is just way more, yes, on top of his game right now. So, but set pieces will be very important, and I think I will have a look. I believe Yerry Mina is starting. I don't see any reason why he should not start. And Yeremina is someone, is a player that can bully you on the set pieces. So Colombia didn't announce their lineup, but I think he starts. So in Uruguay, normally, certainly in the 2018 World Cup qualifying campaign, Uruguay scored a lot of goals from the set piece. Carlos Sanchez had a brilliant delivery. Godin scored. Caceres scored. Jimenez scored. Or Jimenez, well, maybe not in this qualifying campaign, but Uruguay were a threat on the set pieces. The thing is, in recent years, Uruguay have just not been so very good on a set piece, and this is a shame because I think we have players that are good on a set piece, but it's just not clicking. I think so. Yeah. So Marmo Tank says, I don't think. I don't know. I just feel like Sanchez and Mina are just going to look aggressively at Brian, and he is going to be on the ground. Yeah, let's hope not. There are two. I don't think the thing is with them two, Sanchez and Mina. I think in terms of athleticism, they are really hard to handle. They are strong. Well, they are aggressive, like you say, but they also have this thing that up here they're not that sharp defensively, in my opinion. So for a striker like Suarez or Darasqueta, who is really good at finding spaces and finding true balls, there's chances there. Because no doubt Sanchez, Mina are good players, but there's a reason why they didn't kick on from the level they are on now to the top level. Because although they are physically blessed and they are strong, aggressive defenders, I think tactically they're not the sharpest. And I'm not saying that aren't good defenders tactically, but they're not up there. I think we got better defenders, and also we got attackers who can take advantage of this. Um, so Guy Pisanelli says I would prefer Darwin or Cavani, and I think you mean instead of Suarez. I understand in what way you. I understand why you say this because Darwin and Cavani physically they are better to play as a lone striker. Suarez used to be as a lone striker against four men in defense. Didn't matter. It's Suarez. But obviously Suarez has deteriorated physically. Okay, sorry. He means instead of Brian. Um, okay. I mean, yes, Darwin and Cavani can all both play from the wing. Darwin plays from the left wing for Benfica. He plays from the left wing, but basically he's a second striker. Cavani, we all know he's played a lot of games, a lot of parts of games, tracking back, playing from the left or the right wing for Uruguay. So obviously he can do it. But for me, I'd like to see a proper winger, like Brian or Facundo Torres, who also is maybe more of a number 10, but still, I also like a proper winger who offers some threat in behind. And Darwin does this, but it's not a winger still. Matias Perez says services on set pieces doesn't seem to be what it was in past years. Yeah, for sure. I just discussed it, my opinion on it, and I completely agree because I can't even remember the last set piece goal we scored. So the one that pops into my mind now is in the Copa America of 2019 when Jose Jimenez scored against Japan in the group stages. So, but other than this, I don't really remember any goal from the set piece. And I mean, we have players who are such a threat from this. So it's really a shame. Um, Gupi Sanelli says uh, Valverde. Oh, okay. No, no. He says, but not because of Brian's lack of physique. No, I mean instead of Brian. Um, okay, now I get it. You said Valverde. I was talking about set pieces and who was the last one to score, and you said Valverde. Cleaning far pass when no one connected. Yeah, but I mean this was a direct free kick. So I mean, so Valverde scored obviously against Bolivia from a free kick, a direct free kick. But what I mean is like a cross from a corner kick or a free kick, and then a player connecting with a header, like we've seen in the past, but not as much lately. So Gian Castellino says, "Good evening, bro. Good evening to you as well. Good to see you here, and good to see everyone here who is now in the chat or now watching." Um, yeah, I mean, like you as well, probably all looking forward to the game. Hopefully, we will be given some good football, and it won't be similar to in the Copa when we see two teams who don't want to win or basically don't want to lose. So it's a game where there's little margin for error and player or teams are playing for me too cautious, too pragmatic, and we don't enjoy it. Basically, we don't enjoy the game. So hopefully, this is not the way. Hopefully, we see a Uruguay who wants to win the game, who plays on the front foot. Um, and yeah, just create chances and if we lose this way or if we draw this way, we can all take our positives from it. But if it's a game where basically Uruguay is canceling out the opponent and settling for a draw or something like this, then for me it's not the way to go. I mean, this way you can qualify for a World Cup. Obviously, you can qualify for World Cup if you dug in deep, play really defensive, scrape points. A point there, a point there, a win over there, losing there, and you can qualify. Obviously, you can. But in this way of playing, you are not going to challenge for a World Cup or for a big trophy. And for me, every time when Uruguay play a tournament, I always have the wish and the dream of winning it. It's not maybe sometimes the realistic, but when you look at the squad and the players we have had in recent years, we have a squad that can challenge at least. And this is the thing which I personally don't like from Tavares, and we've had this discussion on Twitter as well many times, is that there's not a real clear development of style of play. Okay, you can say we have more of the ball, we have players who are better on the ball, but do you see patterns? Do you see clear patterns in his team? So clear ways of playing. I don't see it. It's we have got good players, so good players create danger or do things on the ball which open up a defense, something like this. But I don't see in attack, clear patterns of play in which you really get excited by, and in which you think, okay, we see something developing here. We see a game plan developing. We see from this point or from let's say from one month to another, we see a progression of how we are playing. And to be honest, this has not been the case in the last 3 years, since the new guys or the new generation is coming up. So for me, clear thing is that we want to have a new manager after the World Cup who can work on this, because with the type of players we are getting now who are coming through, Uruguay can play way better, way more attractive football than we have done in the last few years. And an example I will give is Peru, Chile, who are teams who haven't got the squad in recent years that we had. They had got good squads, good players. Alexis for Chile, Fidal, Vargas, Aranguiz, players like this, and Peru as well. Some good players, Carrillo, Guerrero. I think I always liked what's his name, little guy. I think it's Cueva. I always liked him. Um, they had good players, but they didn't have the squad that we have. But you know what? In the last 10 years, they have played certainly in some periods. Certainly Chile when they won the Copa Americas, but also around the World Cup time, 2014, and Peru in the last years. They played better football than we did, better football, and they also had better results. To be honest, when you talk about progression in tournaments, um, but Uruguay, in my opinion, would have had a better squad for years than these kind of teams. Um, well, never got to their level of playing, in terms of in attacking play. Obviously, when you have strikers like Cavani and Suarez, you're gonna win games, you're gonna get points, you're gonna score goals. But in terms of a clear plan in the way we play, in the way we attack, Uruguay and Tabares has not done a job that is desired from me, and I think from a lot of people. So yeah, that's the way I feel. Maybe I'm going on a little bit too long about it, but let's have a look at the comments. Gu Pisanelli says, I gotta get ready for the game. Uruguay no más. Hey, hopefully you enjoy it. Good that you were here. And we will catch up. Hopefully we'll win. So hopefully we can all cheer and celebrate the win. Gian Casalino says, what do you think about starting Godin instead of Arajo? Yeah, I talked about it as well. I don't understand it, and I don't think the debate only should be Arajo, because I also think Sebastian Coates has been so good. But Godin is the captain, and Tavares just trusts Godin, and Tavares has a really hard time of benching players who are on the down, or are decreasing in their quality. And this is an example of this. So it's not much we can change about it, although it's still disappointing. Brian Shea says, I miss the mean and nasty players like Lugano. Does Arajo have a mean streak? Um, Arajo, not really, I think, because he is really strong in the duel, in the 1v1, but he's really fair. He is really fair, he's an honest defender. So he's not a player like this. I think a player who is like this, Bruno Mendes from Internacional now, a 22-year-old defender. Maybe he will come to the national team soon, hopefully, because I really rate him. He's a player like this. But I think we do got players like this still, because I think Nathan Nanis is a player like this. But I get what you mean, Lugano. I mean, brilliant, and that team, with Arafalo Rios, Russo Perez, Tata Gonzalez, these players all had this, well, their way of doing things a little bit outside of the rules. And I mean, I think we all love them. Marmot Tank says Chile were lucky they got someone like Bielsa to coach their young golden generation. For sure. I mean, Marcelo Bielsa obviously is, in terms of coaching and letting your team play in an attractive way, is a dream for a team to have. When you want to win trophies, maybe he's not quite the guy, but in terms of pure coaching, the way of letting your team play attractively for the fans to enjoy and also to get results, he is brilliant. So they were lucky, certainly. James McIntyre says, "What is Uruguay's best shape formation with the talent it has offensively?" Um, so the first thing I think when you say this is that um, it's three at the back or five at the back, whatever you call it, because Uruguay got Naita Hernandez and Matias Vinha as the first choice fullbacks. But for me, when you play them in a back five or as the wingbacks with three defenders behind, you get the best out of them. So this is my opinion. But I don't really particularly like three at the back because I think it it lessens or it decreases the amount of attacking players we can field, we can play, or so, but this is a good example of how it can be. And then I would play Matias Vinha, Arajo, Coates, Jimenez, Nandes, probably Valverde, Bentancur, or Valverde, Torreira. And up top, you can play with Darwin in the role that he is playing for Benfica, from the left side, but basically like another striker. And then Suarez or Cavani up top, and to the right a winger, someone like Facundo Torres, Brian Rodriguez, players like this. This is a good option, but sure there are a lot of ways Uruguay can play with the players we have, obviously. Um, Marmo Texas, if you want a mean streak, Jimenez is a bit of Cesario. Yeah, I understand what you mean. Jimenez is a killer. I loved him as well against Barcelona because the funny thing about Jimenez is, and Suarez says this as well, is he can generally punch someone or do the maddest tackle ever, injure someone, and the referee blows the whistle, and Jimenez is looking at the referee and says, "What are you talking about? I didn't even touch him," and the guy is screaming behind him. And I mean, some of these players they could really be actors, if they did not play for Uruguay or if they didn't were professional footballers, they could really be actors because I mean it's really funny in my opinion. Um, Gian Castellino says Uruguay should try a 3-4-3 lineup. It will be interesting if we play with the correct players. Yeah, I agree that it would be interesting. Like I said, we got players who can play this. Certainly, the fullbacks they would really fit well in this system. Nandes and Finja or Piqueres. Yeah. Um, now Marmot Tank says Jimenez could do a very good abusive dead role. Yeah, probably he could be this father who is not the nicest one. But yeah, Jimenez is one of a kind. And to be honest, I just earlier today I heard Paulo Montero, obviously the captain of Uruguay before and of Juventus. He said that he sees Jimenez as a pure winner and probably someone who should be the next Uruguay captain. And I probably agree with him, because um, he really is becoming a defensive leader for Atletico Madrid and also for Uruguay. So the next captain, I think it's a good question to ask. And if you have the answer, or if give your opinion, who in your opinion should be the captain after Godin? And I'm talking about the next captain for the next 10 years. So the new generation. So Valverde, Jimenez, Nandes maybe, because Nandes, from in my opinion, he is a player that could be a captain. But I also always like a captain to be a player who is playing in the middle of the field, at the central areas of the midfield. But I mean, this is just my opinion, so it could be a different one. So let me know who, in your opinion, should be the next Uruguay captain, in the upcoming years. So let's have another look. Um, Gian Castellino says even Coates and Ronald would accompany Josema, but we need two good left wing backs. But I think we have, because Vinia he's doing well. He's 23 years of age and he's developing really well. He's not always at the best level, but he's still learning and he's still growing as a player. And you have to remember, for Roma, in Mourinho, with Mourinho, he is a really good coach to improve as a his defensive side. So, and Piqueres is also developing really well. And the thing is, we got players like Lucas Olasa, like Alfonso Espino, like Matias Oliveira, all playing really well in Spain. They don't even get a chance. I don't really agree with it, and I don't understand it. But in terms of left wing backs or left full backs, Uruguay got a lot of players who are capable of doing this. Um, so Marmot thinks his opinion: Jimenez, Hernandez, and after this Arajo as possible captains for Uruguay. Yeah, I mean these are three really good names to have. Valverde is someone I also think. I mean he doesn't lead in terms of the way he is communicating maybe, but Valverde is a pure leader by example. If you see him play, the effort he does for his team, um, he with Nandes basically is one of the only players I've seen consistently always doing sprints in the 90th minute. It could be 2-2, it could be 5-0 for Uruguay, 5-0 for Madrid, wherever they play for, and they are doing this. And this is an example you set for other players that, hey, maybe I'm a good player, or maybe I'm doing well, but I'm never letting my standards drop. Whatever the success we have, or whatever how low or how high we get, you always have to keep the standards, and you always have to expect a certain level of yourself and also of your teammates. So this is also an important thing to have a player like this, and he's a possible captain. James McIntyre says Matias Arezzo as captain. Yeah, maybe he's already a captain for River Plate Montevideo as an 18-year-old, so that's quite something. Um, and hopefully he can break through. He can have a move to Europe, and we'll see how his career goes. But he is a big talent for sure. That's clear. Marmo Tank says Guadrado is going to do a number on Godin. I can already see it. I mean, let's hope not. Let's hope not. Brian Shea says I expect a physical match. Lots of tempers tonight. Yeah, possibly. Against Ecuador was really physical, and Uruguay maybe were lucky not to have someone sent off. So we have to take care of this. I mean, you can't lose a game, or you can't win a game in the first 10 minutes, but you can certainly lose a game if you pick up a red card for a stupid tackle. So let's see. Yeah, I think I'm going to call it a night, or not like this, because we're obviously going to watch the game. But I think I'm gonna end the stream. We've been going on for almost 45 minutes. I really enjoyed your company, your questions, your opinion. Uh, Always nice to have this, because I mean I think it's the best thing to do to talk about Uruguay, and let's hope we get a positive result. And for me, the only positive result is to win tonight. So let's hope this, and let's hope we can celebrate it all. So once again, thanks for being here, everybody who's tuned in and have that and who have given their questions or their opinion, because this was all about talk and just share with the community what we think about Uruguay, and hopefully we will think positively tonight, and let's go for Uruguay win. Come on.